Thanks for staying with us. You're watching Newsfeed, the PM edition, with myself, Ntantla Sihume. Now, the majority of the University of Cape Town students, body, staff, as well as council, are said to have voted in favour of a mandatory vaccination policy, much to the institution's relief. The University Council approved a proposal on a mandatory COVID-19 vaccination in principle as a condition of campus access. This is expected to kick off on the 1st of January. Now let's get all the details from Vice-chancellor at the university, that's Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, who joins me now via Zoom. Prof, a pleasure to have you on the program this afternoon. Now I want you to firstly talk us through the feedback that you've received on the support of this recently approved mandatory vaccination policy.
I mean, it's mixed feedback, and we have to agree that this matter of vaccination is not an easy matter. It's a complex matter. And so the feedback has been mixed. There's great relief from many students who want to go back to face-to-face teaching, but there's also concern about whether people will comply. There's great relief from parents in particular who feel that they are paying for their students to get face-to-face education, and that's not what they're doing. And staff, many staff who are frustrated about the fact that they are not able to offer that which they know they can. So there's enthusiasm as much as that there is a concern about why am I forced to do this? Why are you taking my choice, my free choice away? And there are people who are saying, well, I'm not opposed to vaccination, but I don't want you to make it mandatory. And that's completely understandable. This is not an easy matter at all.
So one wonders that this is probably an issue that's going to be dealt with a number of universities. But I want to get a sense of how you went about as an institution to go about gathering these submissions from staff as well as students in response to this proposal.
So we first, there was a motion that was passed at Senate with proposers of the motion being about more than 100. And Senate is a committee of, well, let me say it's a committee that's in charge, the highest decision-making body on academic matters at the university. Our Senate at UCT is about 360 people, and it's mainly senior people. So all the full professors are members of Senate, as well as other academics who are representatives of their department, different departments, and a few staff members who come from the professional and admin staff, as well as the executive. So we got a motion. The motion was debated at Senate, and then after there was a vote. But before the motion, I hosted a VC's session on vaccination. We had a few people presenting, and it was open to leadership in the university. So from council to leadership, lekgotla to exec, and all heads of departments were welcome to understand. And that was a debate, and that was a 2.5-hour debate.
Right.
And we collected comments there. From there, it went to Senate. That discussion happened 2 days before Senate. Then Senate considered the motion, voted for, more than 80% voted for mandatory vaccination. And then we decided as the exec to then take it openly to members of the university community, because we felt that there may be members, it's important that we consult broadly. There may be members of the community who are not Senate. So we had open engagements with members of staff. So the invitation was sent to all staff members, where we had a presentation on vaccination, on our view as the exec, making the university aware that Senate voted in this way, and our view as the executive of the university, that we support vaccination as a condition to face-to-face interaction in the next year, because in our view, it is important that before engaging in in-person group activities, that we make sure that everybody who does that is being vaccinated. We make that open, and then also make them aware that we are putting the votes. There's a survey for people to vote, but also to voice their views, and indicated to them what will follow after that. If the vote is a yes, what will follow? If the vote is a no, what would follow? So we had a session for staff and a similar session for students with relevant people. I mean, for students, we had PhD students, recent PhD students presenting. For staff, we had the COO and one of our senior professors presenting. And we took all those comments. Some of them were questions which were engaged with during the sessions. Some of them were comments, we took them. We needed to consider them before we took the matter to council, because for us, it wasn't just a matter of voting or not voting. We needed to know, because our view was that even if the vote is positive, from then on, we want to propose to council that we constitute a panel whose task would be to develop operational details required to implement the decision. And for that panel to function, to know what are the issues to deal with, we need to have those comments. Because there are people who might want exemptions from this, or religious or health reasons. But we wanted to make sure that when we get to the detail of implementation, we know what their concerns are. So that's how we went about it. But all around, all the voting, the surveys that were done by the SRC, by the members of the employees union, the academics union, Senate, as well as what we did institutionally, all of them came as majority voting yes for conditional vaccination, vaccination as a condition to in-person engagements.
So, Prof, as these consultations continued, did you consider some of the legal implications? Because it's also very important to consider that as things stand right now in South Africa, it's not mandatory to take the COVID-19 vaccine.
We did consider that. We have experts here, our law experts. We did consider that, and also ethical issues. You know, and which rights? When do individual rights trump other rights to make sure that everyone around us is safe? I mean, you know, so we are aware that we may be taken to court. And this matter hasn't been tested in court. We are planning to apply for a declarator. But of course, these things take time, and it might be slow, but we are applying for a declarator. And if we take it to court, we'll go to court and defend the case. You know, if we lose the case, we will have done what we need to do. We also have to remember, Nhlanhla, that as a university, as an institution, we are expected by the Department of Labor to make sure that we secure the health and safety of our staff and students. I, as Vice-chancellor, have signed as a 16.1 safety and security officer, and committed myself to doing that. So we are doing exactly that. If our courts tell us we are in the wrong, we cannot do that. Then we'll take it from there. I am convinced that you know, the courts will hear our case as strong as we are preparing it. But of course, we will obey whatever they tell us. We are doing the responsible thing to say, if we allow in-person engagements without vaccination as a condition, then we'll be putting people's lives in danger. And we cannot spend a third year without in-person engagement, because that will mean that the quality of education that we offer is not what we promised when we got into this agreement with our students and their parents.
Now, before I let you go, just remind us quickly of where the process is now, the consultation process, with this policy expected to take effect from January next year.
Yes, so this week we actually send letters of appointments to members of the panel, and I already called the chair of the panel, Dr. Tracy Naledi, who's got more than 20 years experience in public health, in the government sector as well as in the NGO sector. She's the Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Health Sciences here at UCT. She's going to chair the panel, and there's a deputy chair. I haven't seen her acceptance, so I can't mention her name. But the idea is for deputy chair, we wanted someone who comes from the legal background or ethical background, whose expertise is ethics or law. And so I've written to one of those professors so that I can hear from her as soon as they accept. And then the panel is about 10 people. They come from health sciences, vaccinologists, public health specialists, social sciences, law, ethics, with mixed people so that we don't go with the blind spot. We also, yesterday I sent a letter to the president of the SRC to nominate 2 students who can represent the student voice on the panel, because we want to make sure that we attend. This is not an attempt to strip people of their individual rights, but it's to work as a community to ensure that we are all safe. So as you can imagine, all of these conversations will need students there. So I've written to students as well. So we should have an idea, or we should finalize the panel next week.
Well, Prof, always a pleasure chatting to you. That was Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng. She's the University of Cape Town Vice-chancellor, speaking to us about consultations that are taking place on the proposal for that vaccination being mandatory for all students and staff at the university. Well, coming up,